Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome to our weekly Arrow After Show for Season 2, Episode number 13. My name is John Campia. We are recording this show on Thursday, February the 8th, I believe. No, 6th. Thursday, February the 6th. My name is John Campia. I'm your host today, and joining me, as always for these shows, is Ann. How you doing, Ann?
Hey, everybody. What's up? Arrow maniacs, fans,
you're
whatever
coming
else.
Up with the new word?
That's not arrowheads, since I can't take arrowheads.
Yeah, she thought she came up with this term arrowheads, and then it turns out somebody else was already using arrowheads. So.
Oh, it's okay. You're all awesome.
Not as original as we thought. But apologies that we didn't do the show live yesterday and that we're not doing it live now. We're having some issues with the YouTube streaming, so we are just recording the show. And what we're going to do is, once we're done talking about what we thought of the episode, Kaori couldn't be with us tonight, by the way. Once we're done talking about the episode tonight, we're going to take the questions that you guys have tweeted to us, because I got on Twitter and I said, hey, we're pre-recording the show, but if you got a question or comment you want us to address on the show, tweet to us. And we've got a whole bunch of people already waiting with their tweets that we're going to get to here in just a second. We've already got maybe like 100 tweets in there, so awesome. We'll get to that in just a second. So for now, we're going to talk about episode 13. And one of the things that made me extra mad about us not being able to stream and do the show last night, this is my favorite episode of Arrow ever. It really, to me, tonight topped, or last night's show topped the mid-season finale.
How dare you? I was going to say the same thing.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought this was, honestly, this had everything that is great about Arrow was all in one show. Honestly, the only thing that I could think of that could have made the show better was more Diggle. Because Diggle was pretty much out of it. He just had a couple of lines and that was it. But overall, more Diggle. I mean, okay, let's start with the things that we like. Ann, we'll start with you. The things you liked about this week's episode of Arrow.
Okay, so I had 24 hours or maybe less to process what we saw last night. And like John said, this was our favorite episode of Arrow ever, I think.
Yeah.
And somebody commented and I had to laugh because I never thought that an episode with Lance family flashbacks would be something I would love. And as cheesy as they were.
Not just didn't know that we'd love it. If you had told me in advance all the flashback would be Lance family flashbacks, I would have gone, I would have rolled my eyes.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. So it was great.
It was great. And, you know, I could bear the cheesiness because what we got out of it was a lot of development in the dynamic of that family. So that being said, because it was my favorite, I have a list and I tried to narrow it down because I don't want to take away from what John has to say. And if Kaori was here, it would be the same thing. So 5 things that I pulled out that I absolutely enjoyed about this episode. Number 5, and this is going in order, I think. Number 5 was just that quick scene of Slade saying, "Don't worry, I'm taking care of it."
Yeah.
That kind of sets the tone for what we're going to see in the last remaining pieces of the season. And anytime Slade is saying that and putting his coat on and walking out the door, you got to be scared. He's not after you. Number 4, Felicity's backstory. Up to this point, and I know it was just kind of a minor thing, but up to this point, we haven't heard anything about Felicity's family. We learn that she was raised by her mother. We learned that her father abandoned her. And all of this leading up to the reasoning as to why she decides to reveal to Oliver the news about Thea. I love hearing about Felicity. She's a beloved character by all of us. I know that. So the fact that they're starting to trickle in this information about where she's from and why she is how she is, I absolutely love that. And I actually left off the list. I don't know why I did this, but Moira, now that I'm talking about Felicity, the whole Moira-Felicity conflict, that's pretty cool. I like
that whole scene was really good.
I like that
scene.
scene a lot. Moira, again, just like Slade should have you shaking your boots. Moira, I think, if she ever threatens me, I'd go running. You wouldn't see me. She's a scary woman, and we still don't know enough about her. That's what makes me scared of her. So when she threatens Felicity, And the fact that Felicity decided to go against her threat and still tell Oliver, that makes for a really cool dynamic for the rest of the season too. I also put down Lance family. So again, like John and I said, as well, for me, as cheesy as the flashbacks were, I think that they were valuable in developing the dynamic of the family, seeing why Sarah and Laurel are the way they are. And it's kind of neat to see that Lance or Quentin and Dinah are still married in this flashback.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like seeing Quentin happy just because he seems to get crapped on all the time in the more recent years. Next, the reveals. I loved all of the reveals, from Felicity telling Oliver about Thea and Merlin being her dad, and then also Sarah just coming out of nowhere. Everyone thought she was dead. Dinah finally realizing that she's alive, as well as Laurel finally seeing that her sister is alive. And then last but not least, let me get to Miss Katrina Law and her portrayal of Nyssa Ratgau, Nyssa Al Ghul. This to me was the highlight of this episode. Number one, she's beautiful.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
I said it as soon as she was on screen. I was telling John, please don't be surprised if I hit on this woman in real life. I call me. But she's just a beautiful actress. I've actually never seen Spartacus and her work in there. I know that you have. So
yeah, I'm a big Spartacus fan.
But her portrayal of Nyssa in this episode really sold me. And the beauty about, and I want to kind of give kudos to the writers and to the creators for choosing Nyssa over Talia. Just because Talia is the kind of more well-known out of the two sisters of Ra's al Ghul, and the fact that they chose to go with Nyssa, which is more of the lesser-known character, and somebody that we really haven't, I don't know that we've ever actually seen Nyssa portrayed on screen. I don't know if you know.
No, I don't think we have.
So the fact that they chose this character and decided to kind of just interpret it the way that they wanted to and let Katrina do her thing with the character as well, I liked that. They took a chance and it worked for me. And I really hope this is not the last time we see this character, because she is pretty badass. I love the fight with her and Arrow. Her moves are so calculated. You could tell that she's had training, she's been with the League, and she was there for a purpose. And you're probably going to touch on the relationship aspect of it, so I'll wait till you get to that, but I can go on and on about this episode, so I'll let John drop his comments about what he liked.
One of the things that I really liked about the episode, and I'm just going to get to this quick, one of the Twitter questions that are in here is from Joshua Rathmel, and I'm bringing this up now because I wanted to point this out. He wrote, hey, why did they have Sarah and Oliver together in the end? Won't that hurt Laurel and Sarah's relationship more? Who cares? Screw Laurel. All right.
What?
I'm all for that. Okay, but I'll get to that. Well, you know what? I'll start with that there. Things I loved about this episode, my favorite episode of Arrow so far. And I'm kind of going in reverse here, but Oliver and Sarah end up together by the end of the episode. And I know we were sitting here watching it with Kaori, and Kaori was like, oh, why are they doing that? She was so mad. And I'm like, this is who I want Oliver to end up with. And I don't know if ultimately he's going to end up with her, but it was really, I've liked their chemistry. I've liked their dynamic, and I've liked the Sarah character just in general right from the first time she showed up. And I've always thought they were a great fit and a good pair. And I was really happy that they hooked up at the end. I thought that was really good. But I would be remiss as somebody with a penis, a man, if you will, if I did not bring up something I did not see coming, which was the kiss. And I'm not talking about Oliver and Sarah at the end. I'm talking about the kiss that happens between Nyssa and Sarah. And I did not see that coming.
$100 to anyone who says they knew that was coming.
I know, yeah. I remember as Nyssa was walking up to her, I thought, she'll probably give her a big hug. Like, I don't think she's going to punch her. I don't think she's going to stab her. I think she's going to give her a big hug. Oh, yep, she's going for the hug. Whoa, that's not a hug. And I remember me and Kaori and Ann were sitting here and watching the show, and that happened, and we were just kind of quiet in the room, and I went, And that's why I love Arrow.
But can I just say it worked for me, and the fact that they were subtly able to introduce a dynamic, a relationship such as a female with a female, and not have it all over media about this relationship that's going to happen on Arrow with a girl and a girl. It was just so beautifully woven into the story.
And it made sense.
And it made perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But so I love that part. And it was kind of cool too, because then after Sarah's mother gets kidnapped and Sarah and Quentin are talking, it's like, yeah, that assassin group, they came to get your mother. And she says, they didn't come for the mother. She came for me. And the reaction of
Yeah.
Quentin was like, oh, it was just such a well performed, really
Yes.
well performed.
And what was the line he said after that? It was like
Well,
after everything you've been through, I just am
Yeah,
happy
then they
that
went
you were
sappy.
loved.
They went
I mean,
sappy.
it was nice though.
Yeah, it was nice when he says, I was just happy you had somebody there to love you. And that was nice. But I love the reaction. She goes, she came back for me. And he's like, oh. Like, just no judgment or anything. Just a little surprise, taken aback. I thought that was funny. Let me see here. Oh, and it should point out here, this is just something interesting. A lot of people get very religious almost about the whole, how do you pronounce Ra's al Ghul's name? Because if I say Ra's al Ghul, people say it's Ra's al Ghul, you idiot. And if I say Ra's al Ghul, people say it's Ra's al Ghul or Raz with a Z al Ghul, blah, blah, blah. We pointed this out as we were watching the show.
Yes.
Nisa shows up and she says Ra's al Ghul. But then Oliver and Sarah say Raz al Ghul. So it's like, not even on Arrow can they have a continuity of how his name is properly pronounced. So anybody who wants to get really religious on me and like adamant, no, this is how you say it. I'm just going to point, hey, look, this is a DC run show, and even they had characters saying it different ways. So
Yeah.
no wrong way to say Ra's al Ghul.
Let's just call him the Demon's Head. Let's just go by what it's interpreted to mean.
I'll
Demon's
still
Head.
call him Raz. That's a lot easier. So Ra's al Ghul. Anyway, so I thought that was really interesting. The family flashback stuff was really well done. And as a Canadian, I just want to point out, in the family flashback, as Quentin is cooking, he's got a football game on TV. That was a CFL football game, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it was the Toronto Argonauts and the Montreal Alouettes. Why why Quentin's watching a CFL Canadian football game? I don't know.
Why not?
Why not, though? I guess they don't have a team in Sterling City, so why not? Okay, some of the other stuff that I thought. Oh yeah, the fact that you touched on this, Anne, that Moira is still a badass. It's almost like the writers of the show were like, you know what? I think the way we've been writing Moira and what's been going on with Moira lately, I think people may have forgotten that she is a formidable person to deal with.
Yes, and we still don't know enough about her that it's scary.
Yeah, it is scary. And she can turn on the I'm deadly serious switch, and she becomes intimidating very quickly. So I thought that was really cool. It was really interesting. I like the fact that Felicity is getting more and more assertive in the show, taking the initiative to go and confront Moira and talk to her about all that kind of stuff, taking the initiative to do things. I like that she's doing that. Which all the more made me miss a stronger Diggle presence in the episode. But
I imagine, I was thinking this as to why Felicity would, I mean, not to why, but the fact that she revealed to Oliver that Thea is Merlin's daughter after being threatened by Moira, it just showed the strength of her relationship and how much she cares for him. But I feel like if you were to put Diggle in that same situation, I feel like he would have made the same choice.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so. And I can't forget this. My favorite part of this episode, it's not my favorite, but it ranks up there, maybe my top 5. No Roy. I
wasn't sure if you were going to notice that or not.
I noticed. I noticed. No Roy. Look, I bag on the Roy character a lot because I find the Roy character to be very annoying, very useless, completely inconsistent with the rest of the spirit of the show, doesn't fit in with this great trinity they have going on with Felicity, Diggle, and Oliver. I don't like the fact that they just brought him into that whole inner circle. I haven't been impressed by the character, blah, 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 blah. But I hold out hope that they're going to make something useful out of this character at some point. But make no mistake, to me, he's completely useless at this point. Totally useless. I don't like what they're doing with this character. And it was such a good episode. And I don't think there's any coincidence that the episode that I ended up feeling was the best episode we've ever seen of Arrow is the one they didn't have Roy in. But anyway, but still holding that hope that they make something really cool out of that character for us to follow. So, and again, I think this episode called upon, sound like a broken record guy because I've said this 4 or 5 different times. Stephen Amell gets better and better and better and better. And I think this episode of Arrow called on him more than any other episode he's been in so far to show range.
Right.
Because he's furious with his mother. He's got a lot of empathy for Sarah. He's confused about what's going on. He's serious, fun, but there's a whole range in this episode that I don't think he's been called on yet to do, or if he has been called on it to do it so far, he hasn't accomplished it as near flawlessly as he did in this episode. I mean, it was staggering. It was a really great performance. And of course, Katrina Law was great in her guest spot. I know for a fact we're going to see her back again.
I hope so. Call me.
So yeah, I mean she's pretty good looking, and I loved her in Spartacus. So all right, we're gonna talk about some things that we didn't think were so great about this episode, and you'll find out when we get to my list. I'm really nitpicking because I thought this episode was so good. But Anne, let's start with you. Some things that bothered you about the episode, or that they could have done better.
Nitpicking too. I think now that they've introduced 20 odd characters into the show, I think personally for me, I loved all the characters that they featured in this episode, but I imagine for those of you that like Roy or like some of the other characters that weren't in this episode, it could be a problem for you with this episode and any of the others where your favorite character is not being featured. But granted, the writers are doing a great job of having a balance in all the characters that they have in this universe right now. I think some of you, I myself not included because Roy, I'm with John on the Roy train there, but some of you might have missed Roy. I think maybe Kaori would say she missed Roy in this episode. The only...
She'd be wrong.
I don't have much either. I think the only thing I actually laughed out loud at, and I think we all did, was the whole Sarah scene where we thought she was dying from the snake bite or the snake poison. And she was on the ground and her parents were trying to help her while Arrow and Nyssa started fighting in another area of that same warehouse or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, midway through the fight, you see Sarah up again, kind of hobbling along
that was
in the middle of the fight.
A mistake.
And it was so bizarre.
Because it's like, okay, I get it. You get that dramatic moment in a show where somebody comes walking in and gives some final last words and then collapses.
That's exactly what I thought.
It's like, okay, they did that. They did that when she comes walking back in to confront Nyssa. She collapses after. Okay, and then Arrow's holding her, and Detective Quentin comes running back in, and Quentin's holding her.
Right.
All right.
And it's emotional.
So now, she's already done her big dramatic collapse, and she's falls because she's poisoned. Now her dad's taking care of her. Okay. So Quentin's watching after her while Arrow and Nyssa go off and start fighting, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, wait, I need the spotlight again. I need my second dramatic fall. So wait a minute. Quentin just let you get up and walk away? You're fine? Because you just look like you were on death's door a second ago. But no, you're good enough to get up, walk back over, and do another dramatic collapse. You're right. That was really cheesy.
That was really cheesy.
That was not well handled.
I don't know why they couldn't figure out how to, I don't know, get them back into the same, I don't know. Anyways, I'm trying to think. I don't know that I have anymore. Maybe you'll refresh my memory.
Well, you know what they could have done with that fight? If they wanted Sarah to yell out, basically stop Arrow from killing Nyssa, what they could have done was had the fight start to move closer to where she was already collapsed on the ground with her dad, and she could have just yelled out as laying to the ground, don't kill her, instead of the second dramatic, oh.
I know. I'm dead. Wait, hold on. I'm not dead yet, but...
I'm not dead. Wait, I got one more thing to say. Okay, so a couple more things to me. Once again, these are all nitpicky. These are absolutely all nitpicky. Well, the one that isn't nitpicky, and I don't know if this was a flaw with the episode, because this could very well be something to set something up later. Actually, I suspect it is. But I was turned off by Oliver's overreaction to Moira after he finds out about Thea's true father. Because even an idiot could kind of get that she was trying to protect her family. And when Moira nearly destroyed the city and killed hundreds of people, Oliver understood because she was trying to protect her family. But now all of a sudden he hears, granted one more lie, but he hears about another thing where clearly she was just trying to protect his family or her family. And he's like, you and I are done. It's like, really? Isn't that a little overdramatic? Especially considering that he's been lying to his mother for 2 years now. He's been straight up lying to her for the same reasons, because he wants to protect them. And really, that's all Moira was doing. She lied to protect her daughter. Should Oliver have been upset? Yes, Oliver should have been upset. But I really do think the character really overreacted. And once again, I hesitate to say that was a flaw in the episode. And maybe it was really a flaw in Oliver. And we need flaws in our heroes. And maybe this is going to be something that Oliver has to reconcile with himself later. Maybe at some point Oliver realizes or gets confronted by Diggle. Because Diggle kind of ends up being his conscience a lot in the show. And maybe Diggle confronts him with that truth. Dude, you've been lying to her for 2 years. You know, should she give up on you? You know, so that was a thing. Let me see. I got a couple things I wrote down here.
But, you know, the only thing I could think of is that because of the time that both Oliver and I'm trying to draw a parallel here, but both Oliver and Laurel had to process all of this news. Laurel finding out that Sarah's still alive and all the emotions coming back up from what had happened with Sarah before she quote unquote died. And then Oliver finding out about Thea and Moira lying. Maybe it's only because they had like this much time to process, and in that much time to process such a grand amount of news, maybe you would overreact.
But that reminds me of another one too. It's speaking of overreacting, Laurel. Okay. I like that. Actually, I like that Laurel was mad when she found out Sarah was still alive. Because
exactly.
She's not mad that Sarah's alive. She's mad at Sarah and all that kind of stuff. But we both noticed this. At the end of the episode, Sarah and Laurel and their parents are in their parents' house. Right? I don't think they were not in Laurel's apartment.
I don't know. It seems like everything happens in Laurel's apartment.
Yeah, it does. But I believe that was one of their houses. I don't believe that was Laurel's apartment. And Laurel gets mad and yells at Sarah to get out. Get out. If I'm Quentin, I'm like, hey, hold on a second, my house. You don't throw people out of my house. But she's like, get out, get out. It's like, okay. But one other minor flaw. After Laurel and Sarah's mom gets kidnapped, Arrow and Canary are chasing Nisa's van on Arrow's motorcycle, right? And then Canary gets up to the van, sees her mother's in it, and then just stops to scream at the van. Why did they not continue chasing the van?
Oh, you didn't see that part?
Yeah, I saw the part.
I thought because Nyssa actually hit her off of the van.
She did, but she rolled on the road and then just stood up beside Oliver, who pulled up to her on the motorcycle, and she just went,
oh, yeah, that's true.
And I'm like,
yeah, that's a good point.
Wait a minute. hey, I got an idea. If anybody wants to hear my idea, get back on the motorcycle and continue the chase.
Especially after you see your mom in the back of that van. You would anything.
It's like, because, okay, there goes the van. Let's let them go and go back to the Arrow Cave and start trying to figure out how to find them. What do you mean find? We literally have them in our sights.
That's a good point.
Right now. Let's keep chasing them. I mean, it's not like they were thrown off the motorcycle. The motorcycle was damaged, right? It was just she took a tumble and then stood back up. No, and Oliver's sitting there on his bike. Hey, I got this motorcycle here. If you want to stop screaming for a second, we can hop back on and go chasing them. But
that's so true. Now that you point that out.
But once again, that's a minor little nitpicky thing. I mean, overall, I mean, this, and somebody brought up in the Twitter, and I don't mean to steal somebody's thunder in the Twitter board. We're going to get to the Twitter board here in a second. Somebody pointed out, it almost feels like with some of the stuff, and I like the way they handled Laurel in this episode. I really
Oh,
did.
me too. I'm
Really did. And how
enjoying it.
often have you heard me say that this season? Not often. And I really did. And somebody in the Twitter board tweeted us. And by the way, you can tweet us for next week's show with a hashtag. Just tweet anything, your question. But just use the hashtag Arrow After Show. But somebody tweeted us and said, does it feel like the writers are now trying to turn us against Laurel? Does it feel, because she's a little bitchy in this, even in the flashback, she's a wee little bit
But
of a
you
bitch.
know what? I rightfully so, I think. I'm starting to buy the bitchiness because of the way that they portrayed the flashbacks, and a lot of crap was happening to Laurel. I mean,
yeah.
I do
Oh, yeah, no
feel
doubt.
for the girl a lot. I mean, imagine being in a relationship where you think you're in love and then discovering, one, that your little sister is dead, and two, that your little sister was on the boat with your boyfriend that you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with. So a lot of traumatic things were happening. And so for me, that's justification for her to feel a little bitchy right now. I'm okay with it.
All right.
I buy it.
Okay, and so do I. And you know what? We really got to get the Twitter questions. So, like, since we're pre-recording this show now, we still want to take your questions and your comments for the show because we're all Arrow fans together. So, what we want you guys to do is just tweet to us using the hashtag Arrow After Show, and then we'll pull up some stuff. And we've got some stuff in here right now. We'll just kind of fly through them. Let's see what we got here, and we will be starting with. Here we go. All right. The first one we're going to get to here is from Darcy Matheson. And Darcy writes, hashtag Arrow After Show. Do you think we will see an episode of Slade before he was on the island and shows how he got there? That's a great question. Because, like, with everybody else, we know how Oliver got to the island. We know how Sarah got to the island. We were told how Shadow got to the island. We would be interesting to see some Slade stuff if there is a flashback episode where we're flashback to how Slade ended up there.
Yes, I could have sworn that they told this story in the earlier Arrow comics that were following season 1. That's why I'm not... I feel like I know how he got there because I had read it before. But it would be cool to see it on screen.
Okay, let's get to the next question. And the next question, the next tweet that we got in here is from Shenanigans. I like that name. And Shenanigans writes, do you think Slade will secretly stop the Brotherhood from killing Oliver and Sarah so he can do that himself?
No.
I'm going to say yes. I think at some point there will be the stereotypical, wait, they're mine. I think that will might be in there at some point.
Actually, you know what? I take that back. Is that could potentially be why he was saying he was going to go take care of this episode?
Maybe. Yeah, could be. All right. The next question up comes to us from Patrick Ewing. I don't think it's the...
oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Can we get your autograph?
New York Nick.
Yes.
NBA superstar. What are your thoughts on Laurel's stolen life outburst at Sarah? Could she be referring to Sarah becoming Black Canary? I don't think so. No.
No, this is very surface level. I know she's definitely just talking about the life that she could have had with Oliver. I don't even know that she knows Sarah, what's happened to Sarah yet.
And it wasn't even just with Oliver. It was like I like that outburst she had at the end because it's like, you know, you disappeared, destroyed us. Mom and Dad probably wouldn't have lost their marriage if it wasn't for you having not even called us and blah, blah, blah. It was a great speech, but yes. I don't think there's any Black Canary stuff going on
and
there.
I was saying in season 1, and I'm going to go back to these Arrow comics. If you guys have time to read them, please do, because there's a really good comic issue that goes into detail with the Lance family drama. And the fact that they had this episode last night was really cool because for a long time, I knew a lot of the backstory between Sarah and Laurel because of this particular issue. But the fact that you guys are now in tune with it too, those that haven't read that issue, it's kind of neat. But if you have time, go and read that because then you further kind of understand what the conflict is between Sarah and Laurel.
Okay, the next Twitter question comes to us from Lemons. And Lemons writes, what did you think about the exploding glass Laurel threw at Sarah at the end there? Lemons, you are not the only one to point that out because we're sitting there watching it and Kaori was like, was that like a grenade glass? Because It's a transition, but she throws a glass at the door. When it hits, it's almost like they do a boo. It sounded for a second like the glass literally exploded. And the way they used the flash of light to do the transition made it look like a grenade hit the door or something like that.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
But it was just a transition, and I don't think a very good one. They probably could have done something better than that. So, okay, let's go back to the chat board. And we're back in the Twitter board, and we got Immortal Tony. He says, do you think Oliver should forgive his mother? Do you think Thea will find out on her own?
Ooh. I think Thea will find out on her own. This is just a pure guess. I don't. She might overhear something. Seems to be the most likely scenario for me. Do you think Oliver should forgive his mother? Gosh, they have so many secrets between each other. I don't even know. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. And then they'll have another secret, whatever, the same scenario.
Not only will he, but he should. Like I mentioned earlier, he's been lying to her ever since he got back from the island. He's been lying to her for her protection. And, you know, if Oliver could understand that she was just trying to protect her family when her actions were responsible for the deaths of hundreds of people, he's got to eventually be able to grasp that same thing here, that she's trying to protect her daughter.
But will Thea understand?
Oh, that's another question altogether. That's another question. So, yeah. All right, back to the Twitter board. Terrell Coates writes, how does rights issue of Batman work? Can he ever appear on Arrow? He's going to appear on the Fox show Gotham, so why not Arrow? Well, let's get something cleared up here. Nothing says that Batman is going to be in the Fox show Gotham. As a matter of fact, it's going to be, that show takes place long before Bruce Wayne ever becomes Batman. Mm-hmm. There have been some rumors about some stuff, but nothing has been confirmed. As far as rights go, Warner Brothers owns DC, Warner Brothers owns CW. If Warner Brothers and DC was cool with Batman being in Arrow, he can't. There's no rights issue here whatsoever because this show is made by the people who own the rights to Batman. So that's not the problem. The problem is Warner Brothers and DC are very, very protective of their Batman property. They're extremely protective of their Batman property. And they don't want 5 different versions or incarnations or variations of Batman out there on running around doing whatever. They want one Batman. And you're not going to see a cinematic universe crossover with Arrow. You're not going to see all that kind of stuff. So I don't think we're ever going to see Batman in Arrow. And I'll go as far as to say I don't want to see Batman in Arrow. I like Arrow being Arrow. And I like Batman having his own thing. And never the twain shall meet. But it's not a rights issue because they are the rights owners in that case. Would you want to see a Batman in the Green Arrow universe?
Not in this one. I think for forever, I think Green Arrow should be the star of the show, and Batman can clearly come in and just take over. No, I don't want to see it.
All right, the next tweet comes to us from Young Beamer, and he writes, where was Roy this episode? Isn't he like the group's new member? He made no appearance. Yay! I'm so glad Roy wasn't there. That's where he was. He was doing something useful, which was disappearing. And maybe I'm being too harsh.
Next. Okay. I like your reaction. I'm good with that.
Next comes from Evan Calderon, whose Twitter icon is actually a little green arrow there. That's pretty cool. And he asked question. Do you think after Nyssa tells Raz that she released Sarah, that Ra's al Ghul himself will come after her? Yes. I think so. Because I don't think you bring up that, hey, we've got Ra's al Ghul in this universe, and you had Moira already interacting with him to chase him after Merlin. You don't do that and then not bring Ra's al Ghul in. There's a reason they first send in just a foot soldier of the League of Assassins, then Nyssa al Ghul, and then you get, it's like a video game, right? You get to the bigger boss and the bigger boss and the bigger boss. The biggest boss is coming at some point. Whether it's going to be in season 2, I don't know. But at some point, I fully believe we're going to see Ra's al Ghul. What do you think?
I just don't buy that Sarah is enough of a commodity yet that Ra's al Ghul himself will come after her.
But remember, they said in the show that Ra's al Ghul has never let anybody go out of the League of Assassins and their oath. He has never, because remember, Sarah begged with Nyssa. Raz listens to you. Can you plead on my behalf? And she says to him, Ra's al Ghul has never released anybody. So while Sarah may not be a big fish, there's a principle there.
Yeah, that's true.
To somebody like Ra's al Ghul, that might be an honor issue. So I think we're going to see him. Let's go back to the Twitter board, and this one comes from Austin Man of Steel. I like that. And great, there's a picture of him and his daughter. Unless this is the 4-year-old daughter tweeting us. Anyway, do you think that we might get to see a rich billionaire from Gotham and Arrow? We talked about that already. I don't think we will, and I don't want to. I love Batman, and I love Arrow. Let Arrow have his universe. I don't want it to get overshadowed by Batman. And I love Batman, just don't want him there. Next tweet. It has become apparent that the writers... Oh, this is what I was mentioning. Yeah. This is from Kosal Sikh, who writes... it has become apparent the writers want us to hate Laurel at this point. Why? Can they turn the character around?
I already answered this. For me, they're quickly convincing me to not hate her, actually, and I'm starting to see justification for the reason why she is the way she is. And I also like to see, as we said before, this whole drug problem, blah blah blah. It's becoming less and less about the drug problem and more about this whole dynamic that's coming out from the family.
Bitch problem. That's the bigger problem.
Hey, now, be nice.
All right. Next tweet comes to us from Sebastian Cormier, who writes, question, if Beauty and the Beast gets canceled, if, that's so cute. You said if. If Beauty and the Beast gets canceled. It's been on for a while. It has. Actually, you know what? It has. That is unfair of me to say. If Beauty and the Beast gets canceled, could you see Kristen Kurek as Lady Shiva or Jade Nguyen? Kristen Kurek would absolutely fit into the Arrow world, actually, I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, totally.
And actually, she could easily... she could be Talia al Ghul.
Yeah.
Because her and Katrina Law, they look like they could be siblings.
Yep.
They both got that... I think they got that same... the same ethnic mix in them. Mm-hmm. At least they kind of look like it. So I think Kristen Kurek would fit into this world easily.
Well, and you would welcome another Canadian into this cast as quickly as you could.
Good Canadian girl in there, like that. Her and Stephen Amell can watch some hockey together. All right, let's go back to the Twitter board. And we've got Pierce Keeger, who asks, so how do you think the Lances will confront Oliver about Sarah being alive, since he said she was dead? I don't think that's a big problem, because it was easily... it's easy to see why he thought she was dead. If you just listen to his story, not the true story, but his story, that he was on the boat, she got sucked out, the boat sank, of course he thought she was dead. I think the bigger questions they're going to have are for Sarah, not so much for Oliver, because if you really think about it from Oliver's point of view, according to his story, it makes perfect sense that he would think she is dead. So I don't think that's going to be an issue, do you?
No, I don't think so either. You're right. I think it's more of like the ramifications of her being back in this world and being back in civilization and being back around people she loves.
Yeah.
And how that's going to work out.
All right. We'll take a few more here. This one comes from Sean. And Sean writes, how will Oliver learn his fighting moves when both Shadow and Slade are dead?
Ooh.
Okay. Well, when both Shadow and Slade are dead, he must have been taught well to beat I guess he means Nisa? Yeah, Nisa al Ghul. Well, we kind of saw that in the trailer for the next episode, right? Like his adventures ain't done on the island.
Oh no, they're just beginning, I think. But I was like, ooh, because we've been getting this question actually over and over in the comments of our previous videos. So the only reason I'm kind of jumping out of my seat is because, and spoiler for those of you that are on the New 52 comic and you're updated all the way up to issue 27, I don't think this will happen on the show, but I do have to share this really cool dynamic in the story in Green Arrow, because in that particular issue, we find out, and if you don't want to know this, cover your ears, we find out that Robert Queen is actually still alive and on the island.
How? He shot himself in the head.
Now, I don't know how he died in the comic. I've kind of skipped ahead. So
I'm going to guess he didn't shoot himself in the head.
Right, exactly. So he's still alive, and he's in the he looks very similar to how Merlin's getup is on the show. So he's an archer on the island, And it isn't until, I believe, issue 27 that Oliver realizes that the Archer is actually his dad and his dad is still alive. Anyways.
That would be mind-blowing.
That would be mind-blowing. I don't think it's going to happen on the show, but you never know.
It's interesting. Okay, the next one for us comes to us from Lutz. Luz, and Luz is writing, what do you think of Sarah and Oliver getting back together? Well, you already heard me say that at the beginning. I love it. I love the chemistry they have together. I think it's a great piece of chemistry, so I really like it. Jack Thau tweets in, I want to get Arrow After Show trending. Brenton Dykstra writes in, do you think they are setting up a TV version of the JLA with Arrow, Canary, Flash, Huntress, and Roy? Probably not. I mean, I think you're going to end up with something like what Smallville had. Smallville had it where Clark had a certain collection of friends that he could call on for help or go and help them from time to time, and they teamed up in 1 or 2 episodes. But I think that's really more likely what you're going to see. I think you're going to have a universe inhabited by these characters who are open to pop in on an episode now and again. They can open to helping out Oliver. They can go, oh, I know it'd be perfect to help me with this because since I need some speed, dun dun dun, they go whatever. But I don't know. How do you see it?
I agree, and I think they have the perfect people cast in these characters, and I don't want to see JLA form until maybe the end of the whole series.
I don't think they're going to have JLA at all, especially since they're getting on that in the movie universe. So I don't think they're going to have JLA.
That's true.
All right, the next one comes from General Nod. I like that name. General Nod and Campia. Ooh. Do you think that if Tommy returns, he'll be affiliated with the League of Assassins for bringing him back to life?
It's definitely a possibility. I like that. I think so.
I hadn't considered that as a possibility, but it seems to make sense.
Yes.
I could see it. All right, the next thing, we're going to take a few more here, comes from Jordan. What did you think of Black Canary and Arrow in the end? Well, we've kind of addressed that. I really liked it. How great was Moira in this episode?
Amazing.
Really great. Castle Seek again. What do you make of Sarah's eye glow? Foreshadowing? No, she didn't have an eye glow. No, that was the poison. Remember? Because that was the same thing in Laurel. That's a sign that she got that certain type of snake venom.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Next one comes from Andrea Elizabeth Marie. And Andrea Elizabeth Marie writes, if you could now write the Laurel character, how would you redeem her? Do you think she will still be Black Canary? For the record, I have never thought she'll be Black Canary. And I hope they don't. It's certainly possible that they do that at some point, they kill off Sarah and then Laurel becomes Black Canary. And I think that would be the absolute stupidest thing on television. I think that would be the absolute stupidest thing they could do. Not bad, stupid. I think it would be absolutely ridiculous for them to do that. So I really hope they don't go in that direction. And now I'm saying that, and if they do it, I'll still give it a chance. But I think it would be an absolutely dumb thing for them to do. So no, I've never thought that she'll become Black Canary.
Personally, I think they're redeeming her for me, and I've been saying that this whole time, this whole episode. I think that they are slowly redeeming her, the qualities that I like in her character for me. And I think in order for her to become Black Canary, she's got to struggle, and they've got to take a little bit of time with that. So if they do it in that way, I'm okay with it.
Okay. We get down to, since Moira has failed the city and her family all at once, do you think she deserves an arrow in the eye? No, remember, she didn't really fail her city. She didn't go out and do evil. She was blackmailed, and she's trying to defend her family, so it's a little different from everything else. And I'll just take one more here. James A. Garcia writes in, hey, everyone, could we see some of Flash's rogues in the Suicide Squad? Someone like Captain Boomerang, perhaps?
Oh, I don't know if they would have that in Arrow or if they would have that in the potential Flash show.
It all depends if Flash, we've mentioned this before, Flash has been ordered for a pilot. It has not been ordered to series. So we're going to have to see how the pilot turns out, and CW is going to have to see if they like it and think it has potential. If they go to series with Flash, then I think they're going to keep Flash's Rogues Gallery for Flash.
Yeah, I would think so.
And Arrow's got enough. Arrow's
sure.
got enough stuff that they can work off of and do.
And
so.
if Flash is successful, they have the potential to do a lot of really cool things between the two shows.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? One more. We'll just take one more here.
I was going to say, I have some stuff too.
Okay, well, quick thing from Smoke and Arrow. And Smoke and Arrow writes, Arrow teased two things in Felicity's parent speech will come play out by season's 2 end. What do you think those two things are? I don't really know, to be honest.
We only really learned two things, I thought, which is one, that she was raised by her mother, and two, that her father abandoned her.
I think one of the things, though, that they did, though, by bringing that up is made us remember. Because I'll be honest with you, I've never even noticed that we knew nothing about Felicity.
Oh, really?
I've never even noticed. I've just been so into her character as she is that I've never even noticed they didn't talk about it until Oliver brought up, "Now, I've never bothered you about your family." It's like, oh, yeah, we don't know anything about her past, do you?
No.
So one of the things they did for me is to make me more interested in the character, even more than I am, because I haven't been interested in Felicity. I've been loving her on screen. Like, every second, her and Diggle and Oliver together, I love it. But I haven't been interested in knowing more. I've just been interested in seeing her do more. Now I'm interested in knowing more. I want to know where she came from.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I love that character. I had two kind of Easter eggs and two things that I have left looming in my mind as we go into this break, because apparently we have to break for the Winter Olympics. And we return on your birthday.
On my birthday is when they come back. They were going to come back another day. They called me. They said, "John, we understand you have a birthday around then. Would you like it?" So we came back on your birthday. I said, "Yeah, that'd be cool." That's what they did.
But two other kind of minor things that I thought were really neat is that, one, we realized that Argus is actually after Nyssa. So for those of you that are speculating, oh, is there some sort of connection, whatever, we see that in the very first scene where the Argus alert comes up when they're scanning Nyssa's passport. So I think that's really neat. And then the other thing was Dinah was wearing all black this whole episode. I don't know if that was on purpose or what, but it kind of made me think of how they make Roy wear the red hood all the time. And when, I don't know if I'm the only one that noticed this, but when Nyssa got up, and you had that scene where the parents were hovering over Sarah and Nyssa got up to kind of attack them or whatever she was going to do. Dinah's the first one to get up. And I swear I felt like they were about to fight.
Oh, that would have been
I don't know if intriguing. I don't know if they shot that scene on purpose to make it look like that. But for a split second, it was Dinah on one end, Nyssa on the other. And it looked like they were going to fight until Oliver obviously came in and shot Nyssa with the arrow. So that I thought was really cool.
Wouldn't that be fascinating if they introduced that?
Let me know if you guys even noticed that or even care. And then the two other things that I hope we will get more clarity on when we come back. The tattoos, we still don't know anything about those, right?
Right.
And then like the person brought up, who's training Oliver on the island?
Yeah, it's still lots to know. Still lots to find out in the flashbacks. All right, folks, well, we've reached the end of our time. Thanks so much. Listen, I think we'll do this the same way next week. So just invite you guys to tweet questions and comments to us use the hashtag. Just tweet to us using the hashtag ArrowAfterShow, and we'll find them that way. So for Ann, where can people find you online?
You can find me online at Ann Campia.
And you can find me online anywhere on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, at John Campia. Thanks a lot for joining us, Arrow fans. I was going to call it Arrowheads, but I can't.
Arrowmaniacs.
Arrowmaniacs. I don't like the sound of that.
Okay,
but
pick another name.
This is what we got. So thanks a lot. We'll see you again when the show comes back on my birthday, February 26th. So until then, we'll see you later.